Since the release of Title Update 8, the emphasis on build diversity with Gear 2.0 effectively neuter hybrid builds in favor of specialized builds. If you want a high-octane skill build, we'll need to put everything into skill tiers, so we can destroy the enemies in a split second. If you want to have exhilarating gunplay, doling out 600,000 damage to body shots, 800,000 to headshots, hitting up to 8.8 million in DPS, we'll need to sacrifice our skill tiers for weapon damage. So how do we get the best of both worlds? What if we were to tell you, what you saw earlier was from one single build? A build allowing you to mix and match any tier 6 skill loadout to what you need when you need it, while giving you nail-biting and satisfying gunplay. Let me know in the comments, do you use a hybrid build? Are you a skill or gunplay focused player? Welcome back to JumpStart Gaming. In today's video, I will show you a gun-based hybrid build with 6 skill tiers. Unlike other skill-based hybrids, you'll have sufficient gun damage to stop approaching enemies and shoot down the enemy's bosses. Use it skillfully, you will swing the momentum of the gameplay to your advantage. So instead of hiding behind cover, relying on your drone and turret to do the heavy lifting, you can have an unforgetting shootout and active gunplay. Before jumping into the build discussion, we would like to assure you of its viability and efficiency by running through the first 3 waves of District Union Arena in 2 minutes and 11 seconds. So we are here at the District Union Arena and I am taking up my position behind the cover. As you can see, I am not using a shield for this build and there is no scope that allows me to shoot around the corner. Unlike most speedrunners, the enemies can actually see me and I will be exposed to their gunfire. As you can see, my drone hits close to 90,000 and my turret hits close to 140,000 damage. They draw a lot of aggro. It is amazing as it allows me to mark and to focus fire on the enemies, using my Negotiator gear set. As always, the key priority is to destroy the tanks. The tanks inflict huge damage, especially when they are near. Destroying the tanks will allow us to move forward and take position near the drop-off point for the next wave of enemies. Remember, this build is squishy as any DPS or skill-focused build, so do not get out of cover for longer than 2 seconds. With the tanks destroyed, we will make use of the gear set talent hostile negotiations to mark and kill enemies hiding behind cover. Watch out for the grenadiers, they should now be your top priority. From my experience, they will not throw a grenade at you if they do not have a line of sight. So don't look them in the eye and you should be fine. At this point, we can pick up our turret so that we can redeploy it as soon as we move forward. Let me know in the comments, do you play Legendary solo? If you kill all the enemies in the first wave and reach the landing spot before the chopper arrives, you will have a pleasant surprise. The surprise is you will skip the second wave and go straight to fighting the chungas and the snipers. If you can, destroy the chunga's backpack early on, or you will suffer the bleed. Same as before, mark as many targets as possible before you focus fire on one. You probably see it by now that having the turret placed on the elevated spot makes it a little harder for the chungas to shoot at it. When the turret is on higher ground, it can also reach those snipers hiding behind cover. It is amazing to have combined weapon and skill damage that delivers intense and impactful destruction to the enemies, transforming a solo unit to a 3-person attack unit. Look at him, making the effort to get on a higher ground to hit the turret. Showing great initiative. And there we have it. Everything is under control in 2 minutes and 11 seconds. Coming up next, we will be looking at the build, so stay tuned. Let us take a look at the build used in the gameplay. I will go in depth on what each gear piece does. And we can look at some options to customize this powerful build to your playstyle. Rest assured that there's no raid exclusive gear piece in this build, so putting it together is super easy, barely an inconvenience. Also, make sure to watch to the end because I will share with you some tips I picked up that will make this build insanely better when quality testing this build against legendary strongholds, heroic missions and control points. The key pillars of this build are the Capacitor, the Negotiator's gear set, and the talent on the body armor. Let us first take a closer look at the exotic assault rifle, the Capacitor. On this build, the Capacitor gives you 103,000 damage, 700 rounds per minute, with 41 rounds mag size. For the attributes we have 15% weapon damage, 12% damage to armor, and 9% health damage. The Capacitance weapon talent provides 60% additional skill damage after you rack up 40 hits on the enemies. With accurate shots, that is equivalent to gaining 6 skill damage mods after 1 reload. With skill damage taken care of, you can focus on stacking up critical damage. Our secondary weapon is the classic M1A. It comes with in sync, providing us weapon and skill damage boost. Use this weapon when you need to keep a distance from high damage enemies. Or if we run low on ammunitions. Otherwise, the Capacitor is the best in slot for this build. Because the weapon talent grants us the equivalent of 3 red weapon damage cores, when we have 6 yellow skill tiers on the build. Do we have 6 yellow cores? With the use of Technician Specialization, we receive 1 additional skill tier. Adding that to the 5 yellow cores we have on the build. We have a total of 6 yellow cores. Let's take a quick look at the gear set. I will not go into too much detail because we are no strangers to the Negotiator's gear set. Instead of using weapon damage as the core attribute, we will recalibrate it for skill tier. For the mask, we have skill tier and critical hit damage. For the gloves, it's the second piece of the gear set, so we get a 15% added critical hit chance. And it's configured for skill tier and critical hit damage. Looking at the holster, it's the third piece of the gear set, so we get 20% added critical hit damage. It's configured for skill tier and critical hit damage. As for the knee pads, the knee pads are also configured for skill tier and critical hit damage. Given that it's the final piece of the gear set, we get the gear set talent, Hostile Negotiations. So critical hits will mark enemies for 20 seconds, up to a total of 3 marks. And when you score a critical hit on a marked enemy, all other marked enemies take 60% of the damage dealt. Also, whenever a marked enemy dies, you gain 2% critical hit damage, stacking up to 20 times. So, at full buff, you gain 40% critical hit damage until the combat ends. If you start with 200% critical hit damage, you will now have 240%. Watch to the end. You'll see how we can have 272% critical hit damage, giving us 9.4 DPS on the gun alone. The backpack on this build is the named Providence backpack known as the Gift. It's Dark Zone exclusive. But you can get the better version of it by opening name caches from the League activities or seasonal events. Unlike the Memento backpack, this is my preferred backpack for a gun-based build, because it provides a sizable and instant damage boost. With the body armor, we have a couple of options, both providing you skill and weapon damage improvements. It can be Glass Cannon or Overwatch, as both talents provide excellent weapons and skills damage. The Glass Cannon will provide more damage but at a price. The Overwatch can boost the team's damage, but it can be quite cumbersome for tactical maneuvers. This is because you may break cover, and it will take another 10 seconds to reactivate the Overwatch buff. But if I am doing a speedrun with the group, Overwatch can be a better option. For survivability, you have many options with this skill tier 6 hybrid build. You can distract the enemies with a drone, turret, or decoy. You can use a shield and artificer combination. And no matter what you do, you will have a much stronger skill than a gun-based build at skill tier 1. So earlier we talked about hitting 9.4 DPS. Here's how we do it. Use a pistol with the talent finisher. After killing an enemy, swap away to your primary or secondary weapon and you will gain 30% critical hit damage, taking your crit hit damage to 272%. You will hit close to 700,000 on body shots and 867,000 on headshots. Keep in mind we have not included skill-based damage from the turret or assault drone. As a rough estimate, if we hit 700,000 on body shots, adding 140,000 from the turret, and 90,000 from the drone, we are looking at burst damage of 930,000 per hit. That, with drone and turret acting as a decoy, our total damage and survivability are insanely better than a pure DPS build. This build is easy to put together and you will have a great time making it your own. If this is your first time here, and you want to learn how to create your own build, start now by subscribing and clicking the bell, so you don't miss anything. Let me know in the comments what you think about the build. I am definitely having a great time playing this hybrid build, because I can easily switch up to a different tier 6 skill when the situation calls for it. Thank you for watching and I hope you find this video useful. Stay healthy and I will see you in the next video.